Okay, I think 310's okay. I think 310's okay. I have 310. I think it's okay.
Yeah, totally fine. Any three should be good.
Okay, cool.
All right, let us get rolling. Welcome, everybody. We're going to come back to that prerequisites slide in just a little bit, just to refresh, review, make sure you have everything you need. But if you are in the CTF 101 workshop, you've come to the right place. By way of introduction, my name is Micah Silverman. I run our DevSecOps acceleration group here at Snyk, which doesn't tell you a heck of a lot about what I do, but this is the kind of thing that I do to help organize, create, collaborate on these kinds of workshops. Our feature workshop is called Stranger Danger, and just a little shameless plug, we do public Stranger Danger sessions twice a month. Second Wednesday of the month is JavaScript, and the fourth Wednesday of the month is Java. So feel free to tune into that on our Twitch channel, which is Snyk Live. A little background about me. I've been a Java developer since it was released in 1995. So please don't hold that against me. And this is usually also where I invite people to get off my lawn. I'm an author. I got to collaborate and co-author this book, Mastering Enterprise Java Beans, just in time for that technology to be irrelevant, but still something I'm proud of. I contribute to open source. I lead one of our DevSecCon chapters. I like to build these full-size, full-scale MAME arcade machines. And if you play Dungeons and Dragons, I'm a chaotic neutral. If you don't know what that means, it just means that I like to generate chaos and cause trouble without really doing any damage or harm, at least as far as I'm concerned. Next up, I want to introduce Kyle. He is one of the creators of this session. Go ahead, Kyle. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, folks. My name is Kyle Suero. I'm a programmer. I'm a security enthusiast, and I'm a mentor. I got my bachelor's of science in computing security from the Rochester Institute of Technology, and I concentrated in malware reverse engineering and computer system forensics. I also did my minor in philosophy. So if you want to talk about anything related to computing, security, quantum crypto analysis, that's what I did my thesis on. Or just anything running security teams, being a full stack engineer, I can probably relate to a lot of those experiences. So if you ever want to talk about anything, or you want to hack on some stuff or make some stuff, or maybe do a CTF together, feel free to hit me up. We can have a lot of fun.
Excellent. We also have with us today Brian Clark. You'll see the panelists have Snyk in their name. And between myself and Kyle and Brian, we are here to help. This is meant to be interactive. So feel free to hit us up. Brian is one of our extraordinary DevRel people here at Snyk. And among other things, he runs our Snyk Live Twitch channel. All right. So brief overview of the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about why do capture the flags in the first place and what is this thing we call a flag. Then we have two challenges that we're going to work through together. And we're going to work from kind of the beginning, that is understanding or looking at the challenges, all the way through to a solution for each. We may go a little bit over the hour. So hopefully you can stick around. We'll definitely totally complete the first challenge inside the hour, and we'll come close to completing the second one. Maybe we'll go over just a little bit. And then we have some resources at the end where you can go and participate in some capture the flag events that are always ongoing and available. So why capture the flag at all? What is this thing about? Well, one of the things that I like about it, I've been interested and involved in security since the very beginning of my career, but my focus has really been on software development. But it gives you this kind of cross-functional view of the world, because the challenges are often focused on particular languages or databases or protocols. Sometimes it's purely protocol. You don't have to know any particular language. It's all about HTTP or some other protocol. Oftentimes it's about databases or languages, and it's a way to stretch your knowledge and keep the saw sharp, as we say. And we'll see a little later on that our two challenges, one is JavaScript based, one is Python based. You don't have to be an expert in either of those languages because Google is your friend and it's encouraged in capture the flags. That brings us to the learn part. And the idea is that often there are these little clues, little breadcrumbs that are given to you in the challenge itself. It's totally okay and expected to Google around, but you do want to avoid direct spoilers. If you were to put in Snyk invisible ink solution, for instance, you will get the exact solution for that challenge. That's the kind of thing you want to avoid. But when you start to pick up on clues, you can do search for languages or databases or protocols and see what kind of vulnerabilities there might be that you can exploit to get an answer. And then it's very social activity. Oftentimes, different CTFs events will require you to be part of a team. That's not the case for this one. But even if you're not required to be part of a team, there's almost always a social element to it. There'll be a Slack or a Discord channel. People will be asking questions and giving each other feedback. Oftentimes in a general chat, and then they'll go off to a DM to kind of help each other out. So it's a lot of fun. And I want to say out of the gate, I've participated in a number of CTFs. I would give myself like a C minus, maybe like out of 30 challenges, maybe I'll solve 8. I am not a master CTFer, but I do have a lot of fun with them. And I always learn something. So that's kind of the point for me. Now, what is a flag? So if you've never done a CTF before, the flag is the thing that you get to prove that you've solved a challenge. And it usually takes the form of some long hex-based string. The flags that we're going to be using look like the format at the top of the screen here. They all start with Snyk and a curly brace, and inside the curly brace is this long string. And if you're like me, you're going to immediately try this exact string out to see if that's a valid flag. Feel free to do that, but I'll tell you it's not. It's not a valid flag for the challenges that we're going to be using. But when you go into the CTF system, which we're going to look at in just a second, and you look at a challenge, there'll usually be an input form to submit the flag. And once you submit the correct flag, meaning that you've solved the challenge, you get the points associated with that particular challenge. Now, back to the prerequisites. Hopefully, we're all on the same page now. Having a Snyk account is not a requirement per se, but it will definitely help, especially with one of the challenges we're going to look at today. You want to have a text editor. The Snyk CLI will be your friend. You definitely want to make sure that you have Node.js and Python 3. And it's important that it be Python 3. Some of the stuff that we're going to look at for that second challenge isn't going to work with Python 2. And if you're on Mac, embarrassingly, even the latest version of Mac ships with Python 2. And then most modern operating systems have curl or some variant of it. Pretty sure even on Windows there's a what's their scripting language? You can make HTTP calls from the command line, but curl is just an HTTP client. You can use whichever one you're comfortable with. I like to use HTTP usually, but I'll be using curl for this event here. All right, rules of engagement, a little ground rules here. So we want to encourage you to share your progress in chat. So feel free to drop a note to everyone that you've solved a flag or that you're making progress. Feel free to ask questions and upvote in the Q&A area, and myself and Kyle and Brian will respond to those. And if it warrants, we'll make sure that everybody has the information if it's something that would be generally useful. We encourage you to DM each other and official helpers for clues. Now, I'm not sure if in the webinar you'll be able to DM each other. I'm not sure about those settings, but you can definitely DM the panelists. So feel free to do that. And you can always raise your hand with the Zoom controls to be unmuted if there's something that you want to say that would be useful for everyone. On the don't side of things, please don't drop spoilers in the chat. We want this to be fun for everybody. So if you figured out how to solve it, don't drop in the direct solution. Also, this is kind of general etiquette for CTFs, which is it's kind of an unwritten rule that you don't hack the back end. Oftentimes these things are kind of run on a shoestring. They're not resilient systems. They're not meant to be. So if there's, for instance, a website that you're being directed to and you're trying to find the flag within the website, you don't want to unleash a denial of service attack on the website. That's not in the spirit of the game. The idea is to find the flag, not to beat up the system. All right, so with that, let's take a look at our first challenge here. It's one called Invisible Link. And when you come to a CTF system like this, you'll click on a challenge and then it'll give you some more information. And just by way, forgetting about languages and protocols and anything else right now, you want to become like a Sherlock Holmes. You want to gather as much information from the challenge up front as you can just by looking at what's being given to you. Oftentimes there are little clues, little breadcrumbs. So first thing is we know it's JavaScript based. Now that may or may not be useful or relevant to us, but we want to kind of put a pin in all these little details that we get. We're also, there's always, or usually there's some sort of text, and often it's obtuse or it's a deflection. Sometimes it gives us a direct insight into what we're looking for. Here we're being told that we're going to be dealing with a web application and that there are hidden vulnerabilities in the web application. So that's good. That gives us some information. We're not trying to necessarily deal with, I don't know, SQL injection necessarily in this case. There's something about the web application itself that has vulnerabilities. We're given a URL that we're going to interact with in just a minute. We have a view hint button. And oftentimes you don't want to hit view hint out of the gate. That's kind of a little helper in case you get stuck. In this case, I'm going to view it right away because the hint is that having the Snyk client will help with this particular challenge. Finally, we have these two files, and this is not always the case, but in this case, we're given the source of the challenge, and that's a really useful hint. So you want to make sure that you download these two files, and we're going to look at them in just a minute. So in terms of how to operate in a CTF, you want to always ask yourself, well, what do we know? What kind of clues have we been given? In this case, we've been given a website. We know that it's JavaScript based, and we have the two source files that make up this website. So there's going to be a lot of juicy stuff in that we want to try to exploit and use to find the flag. And again, if you're not a JavaScript master, Google is your friend. Maybe you don't know what a package.json file is even used for. That's a very Googleable term. Let's talk a little bit about HTTP, very kind of basic level intro stuff because we are dealing with HTTP here. And in case you're not familiar with it, HTTP is how we interact with the modern web. If you go to a news website or anything that you would scan around on, you're using HTTP. Your browser is using HTTP more accurately. So it has these things called methods, and we can relate them to kind of the old school cork and pushpin bulletin board. So the get method is when you read content on the board. So you might imagine you're walking up to this bulletin board and there's a bunch of index cards with pushpins and you focus in on one. That's like a get. You're reading something. The post method is to place new content on the board. So you grab yourself a blank index card, you write something on it, you put it up on the board with a pushpin. That's like a post. And then delete is removing content from the board. So you take an existing card, you pull the pushpin out, you take it away. That's the delete method. So we don't often think about this necessarily. If you're a developer, maybe you do, but just as users, we just put in a URL and we go to the site and maybe we submit a form. All these different methods are being used for that sort of thing. So the hint, as we showed before, was the Snyk CLI is going to be your friend here. So let's take a look at this website. That's always a good place to start. And in this case, when we hit the front door of the website, so to speak, we just get a bunch of information. It says that if we do a post to the echo endpoint with this particular content type and a body, a JSON body, it's going to give us a response that, among other things, just sends the message back to us. It'll also include things like a timestamp and a user IP. Interestingly, it looks like the response is also going to include flag disabled. Now we know that's kind of like a keyword. Anytime we see the word flag, we know that that should perk our ears up because we're trying to find this flag. So somehow interacting with this site is going to yield us a flag if we figure out a way to exploit it. So let's start with just using curl to interact with this site. And I'm going to try to type live here. This is always a dangerous proposition, but let's see how I do. So with curl, to make a post, you give it the -X post switch, and then you give it the URL. And we got some information here. We have some clues here. We know that we need to make this request with this particular content type. Now, if you're not familiar with content type, don't worry about it. This is something you could Google easily enough for the purposes of curl, but we're going to give it a header with the -H command, content type JSON. So that's how we send a header, and we've been given that clue from the main page. I can also see I'm already making a mistake because I need to hit the /echo endpoint. How do I know that? It told me right here. I want to post to the echo endpoint. All right, now finally, I want to give it a message. I'm going to just put some spacing here so you can see. And we do that with the -D switch on curl to give it our data. And I'm going to hand type some JSON. Let's see if I get it right on the first try. Spring is not a word. All right. So let's see if I did this right out of the gate. Oh, dip. That is interesting. Did somebody break our site? There we go. I usually give away a t-shirt for people that are able to break sites, but remember our rules of etiquette here. We don't want to break the site. So it looks like it just had a little hiccup, probably because it's running on a very small instance and we're all hitting it. Totally fine. But you can see that I got the response that I expected to get back. I have this weird user ID. I don't care about that. I have a timestamp. I have the message that I sent back, echoed back to me. And then I have this flag disabled thing. Well, this is where we want to start getting curious and start hacking around. Like, maybe I can affect that flag. What happens if I say, I don't know, how about flag enabled? That might be interesting. Connection reset, connection refused. All right. So that didn't do anything, right? But this is where you want to start getting curious and start playing around with the system to see if you can alter the flag. All right. So now just a couple of little bits of housekeeping here before I turn it back over to you to hack. And by the way, the cadence of this is I'm going to give you time to hack. Then we're going to give a hint. I'm going to give you some more time to hack. And then we're going to look at the solution together. So just by way of housekeeping, make sure that you do download those files. The files that you were given are index.js and package.json. We're not going to look at the files just yet. We'll look at them when we look at the hint. But make sure that you put them in a folder and you run npm install. npm is part of node. npm install will install the dependencies that are listed in package.json. And then you can run Snyk test to show you some interesting feedback about maybe what's vulnerable with this application. Now, when we come back for the hint, I will actually run Snyk test. I'm not going to do that just yet. But what I am going to do is put 5 minutes up on the board and go ahead and hack for the next 5 to 7 minutes. And then we'll come back and look at a hint. And I really like Brian's idea about some like hold music. I didn't think to prepare that. So Brian, if you want to put up some music, that would be swimmingly.
Sure, just a second there.
The system is down. The system is definitely a little unstable at the moment. If you try multiple times like I did, it should go through. Let's see if I'm lying. Failed to connect. Failed to connect.
Oh, we
Might
might have
really,
taken it. We might have taken it down.
we might have actually taken it down. Now it should auto restart. So let's give it a breather. And in the meantime, I'm gonna ping one of our intrepid engineers and see if
Yeah.
we can't get that back.
That's a great joke. You had to use M5X large guys. Yeah, we honestly had such a great reception to this event. We did not anticipate it being this huge. So I blame y'all for actually showing up to things that you register for.
Yeah.
We
So
huge.
hold tight. I'm gonna see if I can get a little support on getting
It's up.
that back. But go ahead, Kyle. What are you gonna say?
Oh, sorry, it's up. They're all saying it's up. Somebody got the flag. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it, please. But yeah, y'all are awesome. This has been like a really positive workshop. We have 500 people, 499. Yeah. Or unless
Yeah,
that's just what it caps out at. Maybe they're even more. Maybe we just can't tell, but it looks like there are 499 people right now.
yeah. It is intermittently working. So it's probably just because we're all pounding on it, and I don't mind telling you all here as our close personal friends that this back end is running on like the smallest instance on Google Cloud somewhere. So it's probably pretty easy to make it fall over. Don't try that on purpose, but do try to hit it a few times if it's being unresponsive.
Yeah, keep trying if it's going down. We're gonna try to expand the instance. It's gonna. I think this is going to keep happening as people keep trying, but don't keep just like smashing the same thing in. You know, if it fails, just like wait a second and then give it another try. You know, in a couple seconds, but change what you're submitting every time, right? You want to get the most utility out of every submit. So just keep on working, and we're gonna try to expand the space in the meanwhile. We'll try to expand the instance.
You all hear the music?
Yeah.
DDoS by high turnout. Exactly. Yeah, the music's excellent.
Okay, good.
Good choice. No
No
load
load
balance.
balancer. Well, it's just it's actually one thing. We just need like a larger instance. It does like round robin it kind of. It's like through a platform, so it's we just gotta like change an argument really, but we need this guy. I think he has the access. Yep. Everyone's asking about sending the recording. Yeah, we're gonna send the recording. Hooray, we win. Good job, George.
All right, we'll give it another 3-4 minutes, and then we'll go to our first hint. That's a good question. CPEs. I don't think we set it up for that. Maybe we should in the future.
You set what up?
Like continuing professional education credits.
Oh yeah, somebody was asking about certifications too. We are working on stuff like that. We will try to sort of fill that gap, and actually maybe it's a good time to post the Discord in the chat too. But I'd like to sort of make sure that we can hear what y'all want. And just sort of like cater to the sort of stuff that you're looking for, the content that you're looking for, and the opportunities that you're looking for. So I have a lot of things planned that I think will help people who are starting their journey in security. So I definitely want to hear your opinions on that stuff and like what you're actually looking for. I was late. Sorry about that. Can you recap what to do? So this is a guided experience, and we're actually going to send you the recording so that you can follow along at your own pace. But we kind of we can't actually go back right now, and I'm sorry about that. It would actually inhibit us from showing people the next challenge. Unfortunately, it's still down. Ooh, we might have knocked it down for good. It might be down for the count.
Down for the count. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope not. And once we get to our hint, which will be in just a minute or two, I will ask everybody to stop hitting it for a moment. So hopefully it'll come back long enough so I can go through the hint and ultimately the solution with y'all. But good job making it fall over. I'm proud of us. That's the chaotic neutral, right? Nobody's really getting harmed here, but we may have killed the app with our enthusiasm. Let's see. Yeah, Ali's answering Miguel right now, but I'll just say for the group, we're going to give you a resource at the end where you can try these at a later time. And in case you are familiar with such things, you can, if you're looking at my screen, you could go ahead and use Python or use just a command line server, and you could serve this site yourself and play around with it that way as well. So you could interact on your own local machine, which is what I'll do as a fallback if it's still going to be dead on us.
Oh, Cristobal, you should be able to move the zoom footer, or maybe Micah, can we like make your terminal window smaller so that people can see the command on like higher than the bottom? Because maybe if somebody's using a certain version of Zoom, but
Yeah,
it seems like
sure.
somebody's not able to see it. If we could just make it so that I'm not sure how we can
Up a
do that.
little.
You can see it perfectly at the screen configuration. Well, yeah, I was making that assumption, but then I realized Zoom is kind of inconsistent
All right, well, I
across platforms.
picked it up from the bottom a little bit.
You can see it. Okay. Yeah, he moved it from the bottom a little bit. Hopefully that's enough space. Okay, Cristobal says thanks. I'm going to assume that's good. A lot better. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that.
All right,
So,
so still dead. So I'm gonna serve it locally
Mhm.
so that we can hit it if need be. And I'm gonna open up another. No, that's
Okay.
not what I meant.
People are getting the flag, so it might be up momentarily. Everyone
Yeah.
don't just start battering ram it. Just like try one at a time. Try legitimate attempts, right? Can't get it to curl the moment site down. Okay, so some people are saying they got it. Some people are saying the site's down now, so it might have just gone down again. But yeah, we are in talks with Kirill, I think, to get that going.
Good. All right, let's take a look at our hint. And if I need to hit it locally, I will. Let's start with something that has nothing to do with the site here, but let's run Snyk test. If you haven't already done this, make sure that you do this because this will be your friend. So just to be clear, I'm in the little folder that I created here. I've got my two files that were given to me, and I've run npm install, which installed the dependencies. And now I'm going to run Snyk test. All right, so I got a whole bunch of output here. Not surprisingly, this application has a bunch of problems, but what I home right in on as a CTFer, if you will, is patterns, similarities. And I see this prototype pollution word comes up a bunch. So I see it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Prototype pollution comes up. Now, maybe you don't know what prototype pollution is. So a good place to start is to search on prototype pollution. What is prototype pollution? So let's just, I don't know, let's just click on this first link. Let's see what it tells us. Prototype pollution. JavaScript is prototype based. Maybe you don't know what that means necessarily. I didn't when I first came to JavaScript. But what when you're doing these CTFs, you like want to kind of pull the important bits out. And what I see here is that there's this prototype pollution can access it directly through this proto keyword. And that's a double underscore followed by proto, followed by this another double underscore. So that's a data point. There's this thing called proto, and I can exercise or I can exploit prototype pollution with that. Well, let's get a little more specific because you'll notice in the output, I get these specific URLs, and that's probably going to give us some even more information. So here's the Snyk page about this specific vulnerability. It has to do with this library called Lodash. And this is the great thing. Here I'm given a proof of concept. So maybe I don't know what prototype pollution is. Maybe I don't know enough about JavaScript to figure it out on my own, but I'm given this proof of concept here that I can exercise directly. Now, by virtue of the fact that I've run npm install, I can actually come over here and run node, and I can just paste in this example, this proof of concept. And what I'm seeing here is that using this __ prototype, I'm going to add this property called test, and I'm going to add another property called test2 directly onto the object prototype. So that is, I'm injecting properties that weren't there originally. And in fact, if I, let me quit this and start again. If I do console.log object.prototype, so this is like the top level object, I can see that I get back this this response, but I can see like an empty object here. Now, if I paste in my proof of concept, now I can see that I've injected these properties into the object prototype, and for any new object that's created, it'll now have these properties. So I've polluted the prototype with these additional properties. So that gives me some interesting information there. Let's take a look at our actual source code. First, I want to look at the package JSON file. And these are the dependencies that are defined by this package JSON file. So Lodash is a dependency, express and body parser. And based on what I know now, having done a little search for prototype pollution and looked at the Snyk feedback, I know that I want to focus in on Lodash and prototype pollution. Now, if I look at the index.js, a couple of things stand out to me, even if I'm not, masterful with JavaScript necessarily. First of all, flag. Anytime I see the word flag in source code, especially, I want to pay attention to that. So it looks like this application is reading a file called flag from the file system. So that's a useful data point. And if I scroll down, let's see what it's doing with this flag. If I scroll down a bit, I have an if here. And this if says, if options.flag is true, it's going to include the value of the flag in the output. Otherwise, it's going to show flag disabled. Now, that's what we've been seeing every time we interact with the endpoint, the echo endpoint, we get flag disabled. That is when the endpoint is working. So if we can trick it somehow into internally making this flag property true, then it's going to show us the flag. So that's a lot of really good data points. We have prototype pollution. We want to see if we can trick the application into believing that this flag property is true, so that instead of outputting disabled, it will output the actual contents of the flag to us. All right, pretty good hints there. Let me leave this up here. Let's see. All right, still failing to connect. Hopefully we can get it living long enough for people to get the flag who haven't already. But let me also leave this. Let's leave this up. This proof of concept for prototype pollution. All right, and just in the interest of time and having this work for you, let me show you one other thing. If you do have a local server like HTTP server on Mac, it's really easy to install that. Python has a built-in HTTP server. I always forget how to run it, but one thing you can do is create a flag file on your own. So now I've created a flag file locally. And if I run this as a server, it's running on port. Oh, did I leave it running in the other one? I probably did. I'm running it more than once, but whatever, that's okay. So now if I do localhost, let's see if that works. Localhost. It is not liking that. All right, I don't want to get stuck on that. If I can figure out how to get it to run locally. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong place. It needs to be 8082. No, still lying. All right, if I figure that out, I'll let you all know, but hopefully we can get the real thing running again. Let's see. Nope, still failing to connect. All right, I'm gonna put a few minutes up on the clock. We're gonna see if we can get unstuck here. If not, I will, when we go through the solution, I'll figure out a way to get it running locally. Let's put another, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes up on the clock. And in the meantime, you can watch me try to live figure out what's going on with this thing.
Did the Python way work, chat? Were you able to get it going with Python's HTTP server?
Post. Oh, it's because it's listening on port 8000. Oh, so I should just be able to do node index. No, doesn't like that. Oh, fine. Make an index HTML. All right. Aha. All right.
There you
So for anybody paying attention to my screen, you don't need HTTP server. Forget about that. And where did I leave it? Oh, it actually killed it. That's funny. The two things that are required are to make an index.html file that can be basically empty. And you want a flag file just so that if you do solve it, it'll show it to you. And then you can just run node index.js. And now it's listening on port 8000 locally, and it should operate the same way. And I think, yeah, it seems to die after you hit it, but that's fine. We'll get it to show the flag in just a minute. Divine Monk, Snyk CLI is not installing. That maybe we can help you with if you want to chat the panelists directly. That should be working just fine. Now, let's see. Do I have NodeMon installed? Will it automatically restart? Oh, I'm in the wrong place. No. Ah. It'd help if I could type. All right, we're gonna come back to this in just a second.
So there's also a great answer in the Q&A, which I hope you all can see from somebody explaining how to do this, you know, explaining 1, 2, 3, 4, here's how you get it installed and authenticate it with Snyk CLI. So yeah, hope y'all are getting unstuck here. If you're interested in CTFs and you want to learn more, you're in the right place. Watch this video. We talked a little bit about getting involved at the beginning. We'll talk more about getting involved with more CTFs at the end. And I'm happy to give you any advice personally offline. We should probably,
All right, there we go. All right. So let us carry on. Let's take a look at the solution for this one, and then maybe our next one will be a little more resilient. So I'm going to show you the local version of this first, since I know that's running, and then we'll go into, we'll see if we can't get the real one working long enough to get the flag at least. So we're talking about prototype pollution, and we know that we want to, let me make this bigger. Bear with me a sec. And let me bring it up to the top. All right, there we go. So flag enable didn't do it, but we know that there's something to this proto command. And what we can do with proto is inject new properties. So I have, if you're following the JSON here, proto is the key, and then this JSON object is going to be the value. And I know what I want to do here, having looked at the code, is I want to make flag true. So I'm trying to inject into the backend system, if you will, making the flag true using this prototype pollution approach. Haha. So if you notice, this is my own local flag that I created. And I just said, huzzah, that's not the real flag, but the point is I was able to alter the output based on the code that we looked at by using prototype pollution, which is what this highlighted section is doing. Now the question is, can we get it to work for realsies? Let's see. Oops, I'm going to the wrong place. Let's see if we can get it to work for realsies. All right, let's see. Dang it, still dead. It's trying. Haha, there we go.
nice.
All right,
Johan
so-
got it too. Other people are getting it. They got it right before you did, Micah. So
Excellent.
they're starting to trickle in, and it's working. So that's great. Everyone, round of applause. Round of applause.
Round of applause. Well done. All right. So hopefully, like, the main point here is not so much JavaScript or prototype pollution. It's kind of the approach to being a Sherlock Holmes and uncovering these vulnerabilities and how you kind of dig them out. And you know, I can't credibly say, like, I know JavaScript pretty well. So this one might have been a little easier for me, but the next one, I came to it not knowing a lot about Python, being kind of a Python noob. And so this one for me was kind of a more authentic search. And so hopefully you'll have a similar experience. So let's move on to the next one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same kind of sleuth work where we gather some information first. So this one's called sauerkraut. Sometimes the name itself is a sort of a hint. So it's called sauerkraut. Interesting. We can also see, by the way, when you engage with CTFs, when you play CTFs, usually points indicate, at least in some way, the level of difficulty. So our first one was worth 50 points. This one's worth 150 points. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily 3 times as hard. It's not like an empirical kind of thing, but it does tell you that it's harder for sure because it's worth more points. Now, this time we know that it's Python. That's a good clue. And it's asking us this question: what goes best on a hot dog? Well, sauerkraut is a reasonable answer. Mustard is maybe common. But also, when a lot of times questions or clues like this are kind of misdirects. So the other thing you might want to think is, well, what's an uncommon thing that would go on a hot dog where you absolutely wouldn't say, well, that's the best thing to go on a hot dog. So that's something to think about. Now, you notice in this case, we haven't been given any kind of source code. That's probably more common. It's more rare that you would get source code. So let's start. We'll start by going to the website, but let's just do a review of what we know. What do we know so far? We know we have an endpoint that we're going to be interacting with, a website. We know that we've been asked the question, what goes best on a hot dog? We know that this one is Python based. So let's start our investigation by going to the site, which is hopefully up. Looks like maybe not. I got to get this blasted Zoom thing out of the way. All right, so this site is a little, looks like it's a little hammered as well at the moment. So
Yeah.
bear with me a sec.
Someone's saying that it came up for them, but it's really slow.
Okay, well,
Yeah, it's probably being taken down just by the massive amount of people in here. We have like 425 people here, probably trying to hit it at the same time.
right. Well, let's see if it resolves. Hopefully I can at least get to the front door and we'll go from there. Micah,
No, don't
share my
DDoS it.
name. Do not DDoS the CTF.
You guys have the same name. Show some empathy. Come on. The
Exactly.
CTF is a victim of our success. Yes. Yeah, we didn't expect the turnout to be this huge.
Oh, that alley has the best idea ever. Let's try that. Hold on a sec. Although I do think that the CTF Snyk site is using the same back end. So
Oh yeah, it is.
I don't know what kind of reporting Kirill has up here, but we're probably setting off alarms. Hopefully nobody's like pager duty this. What is my, I think this is me. No. Maybe this one? Dang it.
You're gonna have to hack your own account.
I know, right? And I don't have the, hey, Kyle, maybe, yeah, Daniel, please screenshot one password, have at it. Maybe we can ask, Kyle, maybe you can ask Kirill to just shoot us the source code for the Python one. And maybe I'll just run it locally as well.
He's offline.
Oh, he's offline. All right.
Yeah, I haven't
No
been able to
worries.
get him.
All right, while we're waiting for this, let's cue up our hold music again. And I'm gonna go see if I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second and see if I can't go find this source code, because I think I know where it is. I note to self for the future, definitely want to have the source code hanging around in case I need to switch gears.
I might be able to pull it up. I'm trying right now. I think I know where it is.
Access to our
Yeah, I should have it.
nice.
So, Ali, the answer to your question is no, because I'm trying to find this.
All right. I think we're going to the same place here, but let's take a look.
I got it, Micah.
Oh, goody.
It's here right now. Oh, it's working for people now. Someone, at least one person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you this link, Micah.
I am going to go ahead and share my screen once again.
Bye, Gilbert. Thanks for coming.
Aha, it finally came up for me, but I also will now have the source code just in case. All right. So sorry for that delay of game. This is what we call the demo monster. Let's see how far we can get. And I'm going to stick around and go all the way through to the solution. Totally understand if you need to drop off. We will provide the recording so that you'll have everything. So first thing I do when I go to a site like this, it says there's a flag here somewhere. So the first thing I want to look at is maybe it's buried right in the site, or maybe it's easily accessible in some way. And so I'm going to look at the source code for this web page. Now, if you've never done this before, you can right click on any web page and click on view page source. Maybe there's some JavaScript resources. Maybe there are some other references that'll be a clue here. Now, when I look at this source at a glance, I can see there's really nothing going on here that's going to give me any kind of clue. There's no reference to JavaScript source. There's no reference to images or other assets. It's really just a straightforward form that's going to get submitted. So good to look at the page source. In this particular case, doesn't really help us. So let's go back here. And first thing I want to try is, well, what happens when I submit the form? Now, this may be a long wait again. You can see it's trying up here, but I haven't changed anything. Enter text here was sitting there in the form. So before I make any kind of changes, we want to keep our number of variables low. And I'm just going to submit what was there in the first place. Now, while I wait for that to come back, where did you send me the source code, Kyle? Was that a DM somewhere?
Yes, it's you in a Slack DM.
Nice.
Yeah, that is a private repo. So
yeah. So let's see. I'm going to get that off screen. Go over there. All right. So it did respond. So it looks like it's responding. It's just being kind of slow. But the message that I got back was invalid base 64 encoded string. That's a big clue. That tells me that the form, which is this is our only input field, it's expecting a base 64 encoded string. Very interesting. Now, what I'd like you all to do, if you haven't already, is try to get here. And I know we're going to make it worse if everybody's doing it at once, but let's try anyway. Try submitting a few things and let me know what you get back. Let me know if you get back anything different here. And we'll see if we can get some more clues. But we already have an interesting clue here that it's expecting a base 64 encoded string. If you're not familiar with that, base 64 is a good search. Or maybe let's say, what is base 64? Base 64, Wikipedia tells us, is a way to encode binary so that it ends up being ASCII. So that's useful in the world of browsers so that you can take binary data and pass it around as text. So the newest clue that we've gotten is that somehow base 64 encoding is going to be involved. Now, where is the chat? What else did other people get here? Aha, invalid load key. That one is interesting. A couple of people typed that. Let's see if I can get it to work. It may be on a delay here, but let's see. But if not, I'll just search for it since somebody already called it out. Invalid load key.
they found incorrect padding as well.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, now they're starting to go down the Google rabbit hole. They're finding little hints here and there.
Invalid load key. It looks like
some people are starting to drop the P word, Micah. Dropping the P word in chat.
All right, very good. Well, let's get there. Let's take a look at that. So I will tell you honestly, I had done a little bit of Python before, not much. I had no idea what this pickling thing was or is, but when I did the search for that error that I got, invalid load key. Let's see if that ever came up. No, still working on it. The first hit was what causes pickle unpickling error invalid load. Well, that's interesting to me. So it looks like there's something in Python called pickling. I have no idea what it is, or I had no idea what it is, but somebody got this similar error of this invalid load key. So the next thing I would do in my search is Python pickle. What is Python pickle? Well, the first hit is Python's documentation. Ooh, and I love big, scary red warning text right up front, especially in the context of CTF. So warning, the pickle module is not secure. Well, what does pickling do? It is for serializing and deserializing a Python object. Now, for me, this triggered things in my brain because we do serialization and deserialization in Java all the time. But it's a technique for freezing an object in its current state, usually written out to the file system in some way or presented as like binary data. You could store it in a database, whatever. And then later on, you can deserialize that data and kind of reconstitute the object in the state that it was in. Now, this is very dangerous in Java, and it seems to be very dangerous in Python as well. It's very handy, and it's also very dangerous because you can get yourself into a situation where you end up executing arbitrary code. Well, in the context of a CTF, I would love to execute some arbitrary code. And so the process of serialization and deserialization in the world of Python is called pickling. All right, so the clues that we've gotten now are that ultimately I'm going to have to put in some sort of base 64. Oh, it finally did give me that error, by the way. I know I'm going to have to put in some sort of base 64 encoded string. What's likely is that base 64 encoded string is going to be the binary result of a pickle operation. And maybe I can get it to do something interesting, or maybe I can get it to execute some arbitrary code on my behalf by formulating a pickled Python object in a particular way. So let's press on here just in the interest of time. I'm going to jump right to the hint since we've been at this a little while as people have tried to get it to work locally. And you know, I'm kind of sharing with you my literal process here in how I solved this, not being a Python expert. So now that I know that pickling is involved, the next thing I want to search for is Python pickle exploit. I don't know much yet. I know that pickling is for serialization and deserialization. Let's see if it can be exploited. And the very first hit that we get is this article from 2020, relatively recently, about exploiting Python pickles. And we get a big red warning right out of the gate. I love that. Same thing. Never unpickle data from sources you don't trust. So this gives me all kinds of background about pickle, about why it's not secure, how it works. I want to jump down to an actual exploit. Bear with me a sec here. Where is my, here we go, creating the exploit. Well, that looks promising. Now, reading above, I found out that this underscore reduce thing is involved somehow. I don't really have a good understanding yet in Python of what that is all about. I just know that I need it to work on this exploit. And the other thing I can see in this code, this example, right at the bottom, when it's all said and done, when he takes the pickle of something, he then base 64 encodes it. Well, that sounds like something that I really need. Pretty cool. I can also see that in this reduce method here, that's part of this class, and forgive me if you're a Python developer, I'm not even using the right word. I'm using the Java word. This would be a method, but maybe it's not in Python. Maybe it's something else. But he's creating this command, and then he's calling os.system to execute that command. But what's actually getting pickled is what that command would be, meaning when it's at the time that we unpickle it, that the command would actually get executed. So I can take his example as is and run it locally to see what I end up with. So let's take a look at that. And let me get to the right spot. I'm going to kill this. So now we're in sauerkraut. And what I did was I took his original code. This is his exact code. Nothing has been changed. And I just want to see, actually I lied. I did change this part of it, but that's just because I was messing around. But I do want to see what I get from running this. And by the way, just a reminder, you want to make sure that you're running Python 3. So I'm going to say Python orig.py, and I get back this base 64 encoded string. Well, this is great because I know that's what my form is expecting, right? But I don't want all of this. This is his solution, and I don't want all of that. So what I did was I created a simplified version of it. And this one is called exploit 0. And it's exactly the same thing that he did. The only difference is I have a much simpler command. All I want to get it to run, I want to see if I can get our remote site to run the who am I command. So I'm going to type Python, actually, in case you're not familiar with it, who am I just shows who the current user is, the logged in user. Now, if I can get the if I can get this remote site to execute this command, then it's kind of like game over. Now I can execute any command. So what I want to do is run Python against this. I want to run this exploit flag 0, and I get back some base 64. And now let me go and paste that into my form and see what I get here. Wow, it's actually held up from the last thing that I tried to submit. So we may not see this in action locally.
Hey, Micah, looks like folks found a small typo.
Where?
For who am I? I think you have whom I.
Oh yeah, whom I? Yep.
Who versus whom? Where my grammar head's at.
That good eyes. Thank you for that. Let's make this right. This is who am I? Who am I? Okay, so let me run this again. I get some new base 64 encoded output. And now let's see if we can actually submit it. It would be so cool if we could. This might take a second, but let's see if it comes back to us. Aha. All right. So I didn't get anything back and I didn't get an error. So what do I know from that? Well, I believe that it ran, but I didn't see the output. Now I didn't get an error, so that's good, but I didn't get output. Now, being a Python noob, I want to understand why I didn't get any output. So let's jump over here and do a Google search. Python running shell command and capturing the output. This is literally a Google search that I did when I was able to get to the point of not getting an error, but not getting any output. And the very first hit is a Stack Overflow hit, I guess. Oh no, the demo monster. Come on, Stack Overflow, killing me. Let's see if it works this time. Huzzah. All right. So I don't know anything. I'm going to scroll right to the solution. I don't even care about the question. And this tells me that subprocess check output as opposed to os.system will actually give me the output. All right. Now that is a clue. I had no idea. I never heard of os.system or subprocess check output before, but this gives me enough of a clue to get to my next stage here, which is, now I spelled who am I right here, but notice this time, instead of importing OS, I'm importing subprocess. And instead of calling os.system, I'm calling subprocess check output. So basically the same thing, but this time I'm using something that should give me some output. So let's jump back over here and let's try that. Haha. Progress has been made. So now, proof of concept wise, I have tricked this backend into running an arbitrary command. Now, just checking our etiquette here, we already know that the goal is not to bring down the system because now I can execute any arbitrary command. The goal is to get the flag. So knowing a little bit about Mac and Unix backends, the next thing I want to do is kind of poke around the file system. So now I'm just going to execute the ls command. Oops. There we go. All right, let's go back here and pop in that base 64. Now, it may be a little hard to read if you're not familiar with this, but these are values separated by new lines inside of this B quote response or output. So each one of these is a file. There's a file called app. There's a file called flag. That seems pretty useful. There's a file called gunicornconfig. No idea what that is. But the thing that I'm interested in is the flag. So for anybody that hasn't solved it yet, but knows something about Unix commands, what would you do next? Throw that in chat.
Well, we actually have some pretty good Yeah, there they are. They're all coming. Here they are.
Yep. And so, not surprisingly, that is my final solution as well. Cat flag. I did have to learn that when you have multiple switches on a command line, it has to be sent into subprocess check output as an array. I didn't start out knowing that, but now I can run this, copy this output string, and I should now get the flag. Huzzah. And it's the stuff that's in between the B and the new line. All right. So we got all the way to the solution. Thank you for your patience with our systems here. And let's wrap things up with some resources. So you can go to ctf-2021.snyk.io. That is the capture the flag event that we ran at last year's SnyKCon. It has all of the capture flag event challenges that we did there, including the 2 that we just did here. And then there are these other great resources. There's capture the flags going on all the time. I'm in at least, I don't know, I want to say 3 or maybe more Discord groups that are all about capture the flags. So there's ctf101.org, there's Hacker 101, Pico CTF, and Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. And stay tuned for our announcement for SnyKCon 2022, because we're going to be running the Capture the Flag event again during SnyKCon, because it was very popular last year, and we expect it to be again this year. So Allie's posted a poll here. Please fill that out. It'll be super helpful to us. Thank you all for playing along. And that's the show. I'll leave the resources slide up here. And if anybody wants to ask any kind of last questions here, go for it. But please do answer this last poll here before you drop off.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I know we had a little bit of a road bump in the beginning. So this is our first public instance of ever running something like this. So yeah, we really appreciate your feedback. Allie's going to be sending up some surveys. Thank you for answering the poll questions. Thanks for your patience and for sticking around all the way till the end. Some folks were asking for socials. Can chat contents be shared? I don't know about that. I don't really know how that works. But
that's a good question. I know we'll get it as part of the recording. I'm not sure what our policy is about sharing that out. So keep an eye out for the follow-up email. You'll either get it or you won't.
I'm also like reading all the feedback, even the feedback I don't respond to, folks. So here are our Twitters. The CTF challenges are, the hosts are safe to interact with. They could not be hacked from the way that they're set up now. Like obviously anything could be hacked, but it would require you know, an insider to do something deliberate to cause it to be you know, compromised. The interactions that you're having with those, you know, it's not going to infect your host. These have been tried for over a year. So yeah, the chat probably won't be shared. Your names are in that. That's a good point. You're going to get the recording to your email. And yeah, it is kind of difficult to do this stuff on your own. That's kind of why we made it like guided. CTFs are hard. CTFs are really hard. Like, you know, you can spend 48 hours and like not get anything. You could spend like a whole day and a half and not get anything. My first couple, like it's not always smooth sailing for sure. It is definitely hard to do on your own. That's why like this is a guided experience. We want to keep it guided. It's oriented towards beginners, you know, folks who maybe don't know a ton about Python or Node, but we still want to help you. Nahamsec CTF, do that. We're gonna be participating in that. Definitely do the Nahamsec CTF. Maybe you can find some teammates right here. If you join the DevSecOps community Discord that we've been sharing in chat, then maybe you can find some teammates there, start pairing up. And I'm happy to, you know, help you with any and all things security and security career related. I've probably been down a similar journey that you're trying to go down. So yeah, stay in touch. Twitter, anything else, Mike? Anything you want to plug? I threw your Twitter in there a little earlier.
Yeah, no, that's great. You know, take a look at the Snyk blog. That's a good resource just for general security awareness concerns. And you know, if you're a developer looking to become a little more security aware, make sure you show up to our any of the stuff we do on Snyk Live on Twitch, but especially our live public stranger danger sessions, which are second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. Good.
Alrighty, thanks so much, everyone. And remember, you can hit us up in Discord or Kyle and Micah on Twitter. And we will share the recording and the environment. Pray that it comes back up. Will be available for you to continue solving those challenges. So stay tuned in your email inbox. We'll send all those links your way. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.